Test.
My sister told me, said, boy,
No, she's not going
you're gonna enjoy life, so I'm hoping she's right. Even though I have tons of other projects. There it is.
Let's move.
Man, one of the finest and smartest people in the entire state of Georgia, right here. Chad Griffin in the house.
How you doing?
Life is good, sir.
Good.
Yes, sir, please.
Chad, what's happening? Hey, how you doing, sir? Good, glad to see you. Yeah.
Your face is familiar.
How's your day going?
Hello, energy.
Don't you make it longer.
I'm not going to. I'm leaving
Running jail.
agendas and going through. Wait, what's
What's that?
what's the set of plans? I think somebody, I know somebody else.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sometimes pictures.
Oh, yeah.
You're shooting without words. This is kind of,
Yes, sir.
that's where we started.
That's where we started.
No, the
From.
city attorney
Remember it well.
So that's what we're starting with. And that's me out there in the middle of that thing. And that thing was over 10 foot high. Taking all that debris out.
Remember it well.
That's what we had.
Yep.
That's the only two we thought we had.
Yep.
We had way more.
Yep.
Clear it out. I was going to show everybody. These are the ones that actually made that.
Yeah, I remember. And I showed them a picture of the breeze, how we had it laid out.
That's where the gravity, the pressure will get the pressure.
Yes, sir.
Rods in there. And then there's just laying out ventilation. And all the lines.
I remember all of that.
That's your finish. Got that finished up.
Yep, man, started looking at
That's
that.
right. Now I want to show you this. This is what, you know, putting all these bags. That's when the bag first fell. We lay it down until it's nice.
Oh, yeah, it's drying up now.
Here is so we got 2 corners that are clean, good. And this one that is not. And it has to be-
We're good with that. Yes, sir. Yeah, that's all.
That's what we're really attacking this and getting rid of it. So this one is showing.
We all factory.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that just hey.
Yes, sir.
How are you?
I'm doing super fantastic, sir. How are you?
Good,
I trust that life is treating you well today. Man, I didn't spot check them all. I didn't do all of them. Yeah. Uh-huh. Speak now, for the Holy Ghost.
Hello.
That was for the work, right? I didn't check them all, but I checked one or two.
So everybody, we'll get started here in 1 second. Hey, I'm doing good, my friend. Just a little bit. I'm gonna call you back, okay? All right, thank you. Having some technical difficulties, but we're gonna get them worked out. All right. All right, good evening, everybody. Today is Monday, September 9th, 2024. Today is the City of Camilla regular council meeting for the month of September 9th, 2024. We're here live in the Honorable Mary Jo Haywood Council Chambers. And at this time, I'd like to turn to our city clerk, Assistant City Manager Cheryl Ford, to call the roll, please.
Councilman Burley,
Here.
Councilman Morgan, Councilman Collins,
Here.
Councilman Palmer,
Here.
All right, thank you, Cheryl, and thank you, council. Mr. City Manager, if you don't mind, can you grab the city attorney on your line?
Yes, sir. Don't mind.
Hey, Councilman Morgan. Yes, sir. All right, just want to make sure you was here. Thank you, my friend. We're having some issues with that link. All right. All right, so at this time, I'd like to turn to our city manager, Ed Stroud, and lead us in prayer, please.
Be my pleasure, Mr. Mayor. Father God in heaven, we thank you once again for allowing us to assemble these men and these women to come together to discuss your business. God, I thank you for their lives, and I pray that you bless them and keep them. In Jesus' mighty name, I do pray. Amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. All right, thank you, everybody. And at this time, is there a motion, council, to approve the agenda for tonight? So moved.
Second.
Motion properly second, any discussion?
Okay, sounds good.
All right, all in favor? Councilman Morgan? Yes. Motion carries. Thank you, council. All right, at this time, is there a motion to approve the August 5th, 2024 budget hearing number 1 minutes? Is there a motion? So moved.
Second.
Motion properly second, any discussion? All right, all in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, council. Councilman Morgan.
Yes.
Thank you. Council, at this time, is there a motion to approve the August 12, 2024 council meeting minutes?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion, it's been properly second, any discussion? All right, all in favor? Councilman Morgan?
Yes.
All right, motion carries, thank you, council. At this time, council, is there a motion to approve the minutes from the September 3 or 3rd, 2024 budget hearing number 2? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion, is properly second, any discussion? All right, all in favor? All opposed? I'm sorry, Councilman Morgan?
Yes.
All right, all opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, council. All right, this time, did we have any speaker appearances? Any speaker appearances? All right, at this time, Chad, you mind coming on up and tell us what we got going on, my friend?
Absolutely.
And you just let everybody know who you are?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. My name's Chad Griffin. I'm with the engineering firm called Steelworks Engineering. Worked for the city of Camilla for, I think, 20-some odd years in the form and fashion of quite a few things through the years. I'm here today specifically to talk to you about your land application system improvements project, which was at your spray fields. And we have been working on those hard for the past year. And I'm here to give the council an update because we are at the end of the project. Before I do get started, I do have, and I was telling Mr. Stroud that sometimes pictures tell 1,000 words. So I do have kind of a timeline of our project here in pictures. This is after you get us so you can see them.
All right, thank you, sir.
Sure. When this project first came to light, what we had found was that you have a spray field that has 3 ponds, that 2 of the 3 ponds were in a very poor condition. What I mean was one of your ponds was completely empty, which is what you'll see there on that first picture. That first picture on the cover shows basically an empty pond, an empty pond that's full of grass and debris and everything. So we were already at a compromised standpoint from the city. We needed to have all 3 ponds operational. We only had 2 ponds operational, and that one pond had been down for several years. So when we started our investigation, we found on some of the side slopes of that pond that there were holes in the liners. And if you look at, turn the page there, you'll see this is what I'm talking about, side slopes of that pond. There was giant holes that were there. And we could not see through the debris to see what else was going on with that pond. Well, we started, the third picture there is actually me sitting in the middle of that pond with a giant surveying rod just to show you how tall the debris is in there. It was probably 10 foot of debris that was in the bottom of that pond. So there was a tremendous amount of organic material that we had to get out of there. Fourth picture is after we did this job. First off, let me back up a little bit and give you a little bit. So that was the problem. We had a pond that had a hole in the liner. We had debris in that pond. We had to get that out. And then we had a second pond that had a lot of sludge in it that we needed to get out as well too. So our project was the 2 ponds. It was to restore those ponds, to put a new liner in both of them. We put 2 new liners in those ponds because one had a hole in it. We felt like the second one was very much going in that direction. You have a third pond that's out there, just in case this comes up. You have a third pond that's out there. That pond was built later on, okay? And it has a different liner in it. We did not see the same defects in it that we saw in liner number 1 and pond number 1 and pond number 2, okay? So we put out a GFA project for you guys. And when I say we put out a GFA project, what that means is we put you forward to get grant funds. We did get you $710,000 of grant funds to help pay for this project. We did the project out at the end of last year. The project came in at $2 million. Project came in at $2 million, which again, they're right off the bat. We have $700,000 of grant funds, and then we had a loan to help us take care of the remaining, or to help us take care of another $700,000. Okay?
And sure, just one second, Chad.
Yes, sir.
What was the, if you recall, what was the original amount? I know 2 million wasn't the starting point two years ago.
Right.
But what was that number?
Right at 1.6.
1.6, and that number grew to 2 million once you got in there to see what's going on.
See what's going on. Yes, sir. And there's quite a few details. And just to let you know, to kind of help the city and to help your financial standpoint, we went and got $157,000 more dollars through GFA to help us, because that'll allow us to get a 10% increase on the 1.5 million. So we did. So that way you wouldn't have to use all your funds. You could put that for a low interest loan for the next basically 20 years. Okay. So that's where we're at. It's a good question. So as we got into the project, kind of more of the specifics of the project, if you move past the dozer picture there, you'll see, this is what we got into. This was our actual pond. So that pond did not just have a couple of holes in it. That pond had a lot of holes in it. In fact, I wrote down on the front of my cover here, we had 72 grout points. We put in 3,200 linear feet of grouting pipe, pressurized grouting pipe. We put in 380 cubic yards of concrete in the bottom of basically of that pond to fill in all of those holes that you see there. Because if not, we couldn't use the pond again. That was the major city manager, mayor, council. That was the major piece in this project. And the slowest part in that, because if you flip the page, you'll see there's your liner, without your liner on it. You see all the holes that are really evident. And some of those holes are substantial. Keep flipping the page, you'll see some men in the bottom of the pond. What those men are doing is putting that pressurized grout in there. We're filling those holes up. We're putting pressurized grout in there to make this thing stable. That process took over about a 4-month time frame to do. Was the longest process in there. We did not rush that process because that grout has to cure. All those things have to occur. Okay. Flipping past that, we got past the grout, thank goodness, and we got to the actual installation of the liner. That's what you'll see there in that picture there. That's your liner going in. It goes in patch by patch, piece by piece. Each piece gets welded, fused welded. Each piece gets examined, gets checked. It also has some venting that's underneath it, and that's what you see. Flipping the page, that's your finished product of what a liner looks like. And just so you know, your previous liner had about a 35 mil thickness. This has a 60 mil thickness, so you almost doubled the thickness of your liner. That liner lasted you 20 years. We expect this liner to last you 40 or 50 or potentially longer. Okay? You'll flip to the next page and you'll see that's what your pond looks like, what it's supposed to look like. That's what your 2 ponds look like currently. All right, it's out at your spray field. And again, the last pages, and I wanted to show that. So we finished this project and we've come up with basically a contract amount that's right at this $2,136,831.01. City-wise, what the city is paying is around $400,000 out of that money. Okay, so that's very close. Our budget, our contract amount was $2,042,000. Our final was $2,136,000. Any questions about that?
So going forward, Chad, how do you maintenance that if you just wait for 30 or 40 years till it's time to replace it? Is there things that we can do in the interim in between that time period to keep these ponds up and running?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I think we have talked to some of your operators out there. There's ways that you can move your waste from one pond to a second pond to a third pond. You can do that. The seams that are visible to UV, but this liner is UV protected, so you're not going to have issues with that liner having issues. But if we do see anything like that, then there's a way to patch those and not let them rip tremendously. We can come in and do minor repairs to that. One thing that we have talked to some of your operators out there is putting an electric pumping system in that would allow us right now. What you're doing is you're pulling bypass pumps out there, and those bypass pumps are basically pumping from one to the next to move things around. what we talked about doing was basically putting an electric pumping system out there where you don't have to run it off diesel all the time. You don't have to pull all your utilities from some things that should be inside the city limits of Camilla out there to your pond that have a dedicated electrical pump that can pump to each of the 3 ponds.
Okay.
So that being said, Mayor, is the last 3 pictures, and I want to show you this, is, please look at this with me.
And while you're doing that, Chad, just real quick, and again, everybody, the reason why we're taking some time, for everybody to understand this, is to remind everybody where we were as it relates to these ponds. And Chad, just real quick, what is the significance of these ponds? What do these ponds do?
So these ponds hold all the wastewater for the city of Camilla, and it holds from your biggest industry in this area. So you have a combination of your chicken processing plant and the entire city of Camilla, which y'all very well know, they use as much wastewater as your entire city does. So you've got a combination of the city and that processing facility out there that, you know, taking their wastewater as well too. All of that has to be basically then, after it settles for a time frame in those ponds, then it gets pumped onto your spray fields. So that's the significance of it. And if we're not getting the correct what's called nitrification process in that pond, then when we go to spray on our fields, then we can overload those fields, which I know has happened. So that's the importance of having all 3 of those ponds operational. If one of them goes down, then we really are a weak community, because they're designed to hold your capacity of the city and the treatment facility. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Let me get into what could potentially be should be your next phase. And I like to bring things in front of your council so you can be proactive instead of reactive. And what these 3 things are these 3 pictures are, you'll see this. This is a bag, okay, that has been filled, that's out there at the pond. That's sludge, okay, that's in that bag. All right, and that's when the project initially started. We took sludge out of that pond and pumped it into that bag. That bag dewaters. And as it dewaters, it gets to be less and less volume there, less and less weight associated with it. So if you flip the page, next page there, second to last page, that's that bag today. That was that bag last week. It's not as full. That volume in that bag is less. That allows us to basically let that bag dry, let all the solids in that bag dry, and then we can dispose of that at a cheaper rate for the city than we would if it had a lot of volume in it. Does that make sense to everybody? So what we found out in this project is we had a lot of sludge in those ponds. A lot of sludge in those ponds. And if you look at the last picture, this is an aerial photo of the ponds. And if you look there to the north, you see those 7 bags that are shown there. That's what's sitting out there today. Okay? Now the option is, let's let them dry, continue to dry, because all they're going to do is continue getting drier, and that volume and that weight goes down. We can either take those bags and the sludge that's in those bags and haul them to a landfill, which is incredibly expensive. And the closest landfill that will accept it is Valdosta. We can take that and haul it there and dispose of it. And we can get a price on Establish doing that. That's one piece. That's one piece that we've got to look at. Second piece is look at your pond here to the east of the 2 that we repaired. You'll notice that, and look at that, it doesn't take long to understand you've got a bunch of debris in that pond. It has, at some point, that pond is going to start to look like the others. And that pond has got to be done as well too. And there's a process that we can do called degrade, where we can take that and break it down, all that organic material in that pond, break it down and not have to haul it somewhere. And I highly suggest, we're doing this in a lot of communities right now. We did it in Boston. We're doing it in Sylvester right now. We're fixing to do it in another community. We did it in Georgetown Equipment. So that process allows us not to have to pump sludge to these ponds and then to these bags and then have to take these bags to a landfill. It allows us to basically take care and reclaim that volume right there. So what Mayor and Council, what I'm suggesting to you is we should put a project together where we can get GFA grant funds potentially again to do a degrade on that biggest pond there. And then we should do a process with these bags, instead of taking the sludge to a landfill in Valdosta, we can get local farmers, basically we can apply this on local farmers' properties. And that way we're not paying the big hauling fees that would be associated with taking this to Valdosta. But to do that, I've got to modify your wastewater permit to do that. But it would save you a tremendous amount of money. These two things that I'm telling you are something that you should, as a council, should think about and allow us to go and get you some grant money to take care of this.
Is there a fee, or do you have a number in mind, or something like that would cost, Chad?
Yes, sir.
What do you think?
Somewhere around 2.2 million.
All right. Okay, go ahead, I'll finish. Go ahead.
About 2.2 million, and what we've seen, Mayor and Council, in the past is Camilla has qualified in the past for grants through GFA that are 50 or 60% grants. So, the last project was 1.5. We got 710,000, about 45% grant. What we're seeing is that we can get you somewhere in that range of 40 to 45 to 60 through the past few years of grant funds. So what we would love to do is to put an application for you forward just at the end of this year that would allow us to do that. Doesn't cost you any money. It's basically like being in a poker game and laying your hand out just to see how much money GFA will give you. We've already done some of the things that get you ahead of other people to get you grant funds. We would love to entertain trying to do that for you if your council would be acceptable to that.
Yeah, and Chad, I appreciate that, and I want to remind the council that roughly 2 years ago, the majority of this council, understanding that this wasn't something that happened overnight.
Right.
And that whatever the issues that was happening with that pond, at that time was 1.5. When we got in there, it grew to 2.1. This issue with the third pond, I want to let the citizens know that the majority of this council had the wisdom enough to pull down $1.5 million, number one, for the debt service for the loan that we have to pay back, almost $1 million, a little bit more, I guess, at this point over the next 20 years. And then also, when you consider what Chad is suggesting now, that third pond needs to be treated, and that's even with a GFA loan or a grant, if you will, we're still going to have to come out of pocket some.
Yes, sir.
What Chad mentioned earlier in his presentation is that some of the savings that we received in that extra 10% on top of the 1.5 that we got earlier, that with the balance, we could get an additional low interest loan, if you will. But because we had that money already drawn down and it was already sitting here in the city, you didn't have to, when I say you, I'm talking about the citizens of the city, you didn't have to borrow that money because we already had it. So we're able to get this project done. The project is paid for over the next 20 years. You have the debt service sitting in the bank right now. There's nothing for the citizens to do at this time. We've already brought the money here 2 years ago. So I want to remind everybody of that. A lot of conversations regarding that, but we got that done. With this particular project, I believe we still have a little bit more to where we can probably take care of this too. Council, what I would ask, and as Chad has pointed out, this is going to have to get done, and sooner rather than later. Madam Attorney, what I'm going to do is ask the council to amend the agenda for tonight to authorize Chad to go ahead and start that process with the ask for that grant. The fact that it doesn't cost any money, it doesn't. The fact that it doesn't cost any money, I think we still would like to. I think it would be helpful if you had council approval.
Yes, sir.
Because we do get it, there are some things that's gonna need to happen.
Absolutely.
Any issues with that, Madam Attorney? Thank you. All right, council, at this time, is there a motion to amend tonight's agenda to add an item to allow Chad Griffin and his organization and company to seek a grant funding for the maintenance of the ponds that are out at our spray field? Is there a motion to amend the agenda to add an item to be voted on tonight?
So moved.
Now, motion is properly second, any discussion? All right, all in favor? Councilman Morgan? All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Council. Council, at this time, is there a motion to authorize Chad Griffin and his company to seek grant funding for the maintenance of the City of Camilla spray fields? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Have a motion properly second, any discussion? All right, all in favor? Councilman Morgan? All right, motion carried. All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Council. So Chad, please, sir, just go ahead and do everything you need to do to go ahead and get that ball rolling.
Yes, sir, we will. We're moving on it. Thank you for the opportunity. Appreciate everything, and we'll get it straight.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, Chad, and all the work you do, my friend.
Thank you. Appreciate y'all.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Now, in between that time, Chad was giving us that awesome presentation. Anyone in the audience want to have an opportunity for a speaker appearance? Anybody? Considering it's a new day. Think of it. Anybody? All right, so at this time, we're going to bring up Dick, our awesome airport supervisor. Honor the speaker appearances, everybody, just for the record. And Nick, if you don't mind, could you get Michael on your phone?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then, Okay.
Don't speak in it.
Hello, sir. I'm going to put you on speaker. Here we go, here's the council. Mayor, council, good evening. Thank you for having us back again. We're not as rushed tonight as we were last Monday night. Tonight, we're going to be talking about capital improvement program.
oh, and you know what? Because we're so awesome here in the city of Camilla, we anticipate voting on this tonight, my friend.
Yes, that's
So,
right.
tell Mike I own 15 push-ups. I'll give it to him tomorrow.
Michael, the mayor owes you 15 push-ups.
And we're gonna have that. We're gonna hold on to that till a bit later in the meeting.
Okay.
All right.
All right, so,
So you can do it at that time. You can do it at that time.
okay.
The whole thing. Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yeah, we actually have this as an item tonight.
I got you.
My apologies.
Yes, sir. So we'll bring up the next item and call Michael back, or you want to do this now?
No, we'll do it later on.
Okay,
Yes,
sounds good.
sir. Appreciate it. And this is capital improvement, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, beautiful. All right, at this time, everybody, following our agenda this evening, we're gonna have our public hearing, for the millage rate, for 2024. This is obviously extremely important, as it relates to the property taxes that are paid here and other, elements of tax here in the city of Camilla. At this time, we are recommending, and correct me if I'm wrong, 6.135 meals versus 6.165. And we are doing that obviously with some of the properties here increasing in value. That would be more taxes for our citizens. But to ensure that that doesn't happen, we do what's called a rollback. And that rollback number is at 6.135. So at this time, for the public, we will open up our public hearing for the millage rate, see if you have anything to say as it relates to that. So at this time, we will open up the floor for a public hearing regarding the millage rate. Floor is now. Any citizen? Any citizen for the public hearing regarding the millage rate? All right. Hearing none. At this time, we will close the public portion of the public hearing for the millage rate. But just one more time. Any member of the public Any comments regarding the millage rate for 2024? All right, hearing none, this public hearing is closed. All right, Madam Attorney, any issues with that progression? Madam Attorney?
No, sir, that is fine.
Okay, thank you. All right. All right, so at this time, we'll go into action item, number 7, action items, and first up, is resolution number 2024-09-09-01, the 2024 millage rate. And at this time, council, is there a motion, to authorize the city manager and staff to transmit, to our tax officer, Richard County, that the millage rate, the 2024 millage rate for the city of Camilla to stand at 6.135, which is the millage for the rollback rate, rather, for this year. Is there a motion to set the millage rate for the city of Camilla for 2024 at 6.135 mills? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Now, a motion is properly second. Any discussion? I want to thank council for that motion and the second. Because once again, here in the city of Camilla, we are proving we don't raise taxes on our folks. If this motion carries, that's what we're communicating to the people of this town and to this region. So, any other idea, council? Any other comments? All right. All in favor? Councilman Morgan? All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Council. All right, item B, underage sales. As you are aware, last month, we had this, we had 2 stores that were identified during an investigation by the police department, where there was underage sales of alcohol to minors, if you will, here in the city of Camilla. Those 2 organizations was here last month. There were some issues regarding our ordinance. And in order to be fair to them and be fair to the process here in the city, we took a little time to get a little bit more information regarding any potential conflicts between the 2 ordinances. And at that time, our city attorney did the research. And at this time, Madam Attorney, I'll turn it over to you to kind of give us a background of where we're headed.
Yes, sir. This evening will culminate in the deliberation of the 2 citations for the hearings that were held initially on August 12th, 2024, before this body. The deliberation will be based upon the evidence. I think the minutes reflect from that date to reflect what was discussed and what our officer presented in terms of evidence, as well as what the license holder stated. If my memory serves me correctly, one of the license holders did not appear for the hearing. So at this point, now that the evidence is closed at that point, then it is up to this body, this governing body, to just deliberate and discuss what or whether hundreds of the evidence was shown by the testimony provided that there was a violation of the city ordinance prohibiting the sale of alcohol to minors. And as you separately deliberate each of these matters and the evidence adduced in each of those matters, you will consider, if you find that there was a preponderance of the evidence that there was a violation of city ordinance, then section 9-2-12 of our city ordinances, which is in your packet, page 6 of your packet, gives you the parameters and guidelines for assessing a penalty. And as you can see in the highlighted up to that amount or below. And so that would, if there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them before you all begin your deliberations.
All right, thank you, Madam Attorney. Council, any questions for the city attorney? All right, Madam Attorney, would it be appropriate to ask, even though someone was here the last time, that to have the stores represented here tonight, if they had anything to say?
If you would like to hear, you in your deliberative capacity, you can ask questions of them. And if they want to have anything else they would like to add, then certainly you can't have too much due process. It's not required. You have satisfied due process as it pertains to hearing from the license holders. I believe that if the one who is not present, I don't believe that since our officer, I'm not sure if our officer is here, but the individual license holder who did not show up in the first hearing, there'll be a decision as to whether or not you want to hear from that individual. I specifically recall one of the license holders speaking on the 12th.
Okay.
So, nothing wrong with having a working process. It's just if you all want to hear from each of them, whether or not they appear at the 12th hearing, that will be something that's decided.
Okay, council, any objection for asking those two gentlemen if they had any words for the council? Any objection? Okay. All right, we got a representative here from Susan Q.
Yes, sir.
Come on up. All right. If you don't mind, state your name for us.
Yeah, my name is Tommy Patel. I represent Susan Q's. I'm the owner. On the recent last hearing, neither my manager showed up because I told her to come because she lives here. And then she said, boss, you told me you were going. I said, no, that's all right. But anyway, I apologize. I'll usually always follow our guidelines in terms of selling alcohol. Training, a lot of new help, a lot of turnover. Everybody sees that same dilemma of staffing, and my girl did oversight it and sold it. And I'm here to ask Mr. Mayor, all the council members, maybe let us pay a little bit a heavy fine, but ask for maybe a 3-day or 1-week suspension, not 30 days, because that's our livelihood. Not that we're out there purposely doing this for, I don't want to earn that kind of money by selling to minors. That's not me. But I just like to ask all the council members possibly increase the fine to $500, but do 3-day suspension, not 30 days.
What mechanisms have you put in place to, even with the turnover, what mechanism you got in place?
We have a standard policy that we ID, which is a video that we train to employees when we hire, how to check ID, and every transaction, whether it's tobacco or alcohol, as soon as they zap it on the scanner, it pops up, check ID. Of course, clerks can override that, or they can actually scan the ID or put the birthday in there. And the machine will tell her age 18 or not, I'm 21 or not 21. And then each employee signs off on it, that, hey, we did receive this training of how to sell alcohol or how to sell tobacco. So in the long haul, where they can't say we didn't give them sufficient training.
Sure.
But it was on my clerk's portion of overriding that transaction, and then end up in a underage sale.
Sure.
But, it was not intentional, nor do I want that kind of earnings in our business. We don't do that. I got over 86 stores. It's my probably second violation in 86 stores over 29 years in the surrounding counties and over 18 years here in Camilla. And both of those violations were here.
All right. Well, I want to tell you, Ms. Patel, and I mentioned this last week, you guys were here. Obviously, we appreciate you for 18 years being here in the city and being a good corporate partner. We really do appreciate that. However, as you just mentioned, in the time that you have had this issue, it's been right here in Camilla, and the primary reason for that is that we take the health, the well-being of not only our children and our minors, but our community very seriously. And the fact that you're here today, and I agree with you, that when you consider that kind of history, 18 years, 2 violations, even 1 violation is too many, but it's obvious that you really put effort in being a responsible business owner here. We appreciate that. However, tonight, there is a reckoning, if you will, as it relates to that. And we'll get to that here in a second. But just wanted to check with the council to see if anybody had any questions for Mr. Patel.
Yes, is that employee still employed?
No, we fired him right away. Same minute that was, the citation was served. My other manager comes in and she's out. Could be another thing an hour later and she'll do it again, so we immediately remove her. That's our policy and procedure. And everybody knows the aftermath that what's involved in the citation and of course, some counties, some cities, you're gonna have a jail time, you have to go in there, fingerprint and all that, they're all aware of that, so we just go score. I mean, I don't know what to do. We don't
Let me
enforce
ask
it.
a question that it says a suspension, $150 reinstatement fee. Now, is that capped, is that fixed, or can you have a fine plus the reinstatement fee? How does that work?
Yeah,
Not an attorney question.
yeah, but I think our fee schedule has that, that's the cap, if you will. But Madam Attorney, the question from Councilman Palmer was the 150 reinstatement fee, that's part of our fee schedule, and not necessarily the fine, if you will. Any thoughts on that?
That's part, I do know, just generally, that probably is the cap. It's my opinion, legal opinion, that the $150 reinstatement fee is the cap. And because unless there is something in the ordinance that says that fee could be increased, then we certainly can't have the discretion, even though these are guidelines that can be altered. They can't be under due process standards increased. So if you come into a situation, and the maximum that's listed on an ordinance is $150 for the reinstatement fee. We can't say, well, we're going to charge you a $300 reinstatement fee unless the rules also say a minimum $150 reinstatement fee. So we don't have that language in there, so that would be the cap. Where you have more room and wiggle room, if the council decides, it's on the days of suspension, and you have, you can do anywhere from 0 or 1 to 30 days there.
Okay. And up to $1,000 fine, is that right?
It doesn't say that here. This is the one that was,
It didn't say that.
the previous one, the 2016 had that. This one that was about to put that away and change that in 2021.
All right. So to answer your question, Councilman Palmer, we are, yeah. So it's just a matter of the days of the suspension. The 150 is constant.
Can I make a recommendation?
Yes, sir, absolutely.
I recommend a 3-day suspension, and the reinstatement is already stated here. And the fact is that this is their first offense, number 1, and number 2, that's a big part of their income, which, as far as the city is concerned, equates to sales tax. And if they're not selling beer, we're not getting any sales tax. So, I think he told me what they did to the employee, which that's their policy. And I think it's fair to warn him what will be happening down the road if this continues.
I agree. Any other comments from the council? Councilman Morgan? agree with Councilman Palmer. I think 3 days, first offense over the last 2 years, I think is reasonable, and I think to Councilman Palmer's point, look, you guys take some corrective action regarding that, so, all right. So council, at this time, is there a motion for Susan Hughes to impose a 3-day suspension of selling of alcohol and a reinstatement fee of $150 to start, effective tomorrow? Is that?
I think in the past, I think maybe there has to be some type of notice on that, I remember something about that.
Yeah. Madam Attorney, thoughts on that?
That's a question.
I think I've heard, Councilman Palmer, I think he's right, if I heard him correctly, usually you let the business decide, and, they need to just implement that within a certain time period. If you say sometime before the end of the month, they just have to do it, because they have to turn in their license or take it down, or, city clerk may be more familiar with it, but they will have to, surrender the license for that period of time. So if you all want to prescribe when it will happen, you can. If you want to give them a deadline that it has to, that the suspension begins sometime during within the next 30 days, by October or September 30th, they have to do it, and they can make that determination, but they'll have to stay in contact with the city and the business license folks, make sure they take their business license down, and not their business license, but their alcohol license. They'll have to turn that in for those 3 days. So I don't mean to sound unequivocal in all these answers, but it really is up to you all as a delivery body how you want to meet out the punishment. I don't know that the ordinance doesn't say anything about consecutive days of suspension, but if you want it consecutive, you can say that. It really is within your discretion.
All right. Council, any thoughts on the consecutive nature
I
of
would say as reasonably as quick as possible, let's get it done and over with and do it on
And I think in the past it was consecutive, and they were required to lock the coolers where they were located and to cover up any displays that advertise alcohol beverages. So there are a few things, and then the police department actually goes and confirms that y'all have done that.
And that's big consecutive, you know, that's right. That's the big thing, you can say.
Right.
And I think we know not then we're ready for them to start. So Johnny has to coordinate it to make sure that they got them locked and all this stuff.
Yeah, I think to Councilman Palmer's point, one of the things that we've done in the past, if I recall, we kind of tell them what the punishment is and let them decide how they want to do it. And I think if we give them until the end of the month, September 30th, to work it out with city staff, then that'll work. Okay? All right, so council, at this time, is there a motion to impose a 3-day consecutive suspension on Susan Hughes, in addition to a $150 reinstatement fee, a 3-day consecutive suspension to be decided by Susan Hughes in coordination with city staff on or before September 30th, 2024. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion. So,
Have a motion been properly seconded. Any discussion? All right, all in favor? Councilman Morgan? All opposed? Motion carries. All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right. One stop convenience, number 6. How you doing, sir? State your name for the record, please.
I'm Dixon Patel and, from Local Stop. We talked last time, and, all that we just got the new software registered, new scanner that scan ID. And it's so tough, like, it's minor or not.
Okay,
We upgrade our system.
good. And again, you were here the last time, so we heard everything, and I think you mentioned software at that time.
Yes.
All right, anything else you want to add?
No, sir.
All right, any questions from the council?
What was the employee, where is that person still employed or not?
Yeah, he's still working part-time,
Okay.
but we just got the new software and I just strictly told them to just follow the rules. And they scan the ID every single day on every single person.
So this machine will not let them sell it if they're underage, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like they have to ask their ID and have to scan. If it's minor, then it's on the screen, it's a minor, it's not eligible for the selfie.
So they can't override it.
No.
Any other questions from the council? All right. So I think that Ms. Patel is pretty much in the same boat as the previous, this is the first offense in the last 2 years. And council, if there's no objection, we impose the same punishment, if you will. Any objection? All right, council, at this time, is there a motion to impose a 3-day consecutive suspension of the sale of alcohol for One Stop Convenient number 6, in addition to a $150 reinstatement fee? The 3 consecutive days can be decided by One Stop Convenient number 6, but they have to contact staff, city staff, before or on September 30th to inform us of when those 3 days will be. Is there a motion? Motion.
Second.
A motion to properly second. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor? Councilman Ward? All right, all opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, council. All right, and Councilman Morgan, hold on for 1 second. Hey, Gunner.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, good. My apologies, my friend. Are you able to talk to us?
Absolutely.
All right, hold on 1 second. Councilman Morgan, you there?
Yes, sir.
All right. All right, so, everybody, item C on our agenda tonight is electric vehicle charging stations. And what I recommended to the council last week or during the work session is that the City of Camilla look carefully into bringing at least 2 level 2 charging stations, electric vehicle charging stations to the City of Camilla. This is where we're headed, not only as a region, not only as a state, but as a country. And I sent over some specs to everybody earlier today, and I asked Gunner, who is with Torchpoint, who is, really well versed in this field, and I thought it was important that I could talk about it, obviously, but I think if we brought one of the experts in just to get their take on what this means potentially for our city. So at this time, Gunner, I'm going to turn it over to you and just tell us what you do and if any opinion, if you have any, rather, as relates to the impact of having electric vehicle chargers here in the city of Camilla. The floor is yours, sir.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So I'll just keep my introduction brief. My name is Gunnar Goldie. I live in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, but I work for Gresco, which is Georgia Rural Electric Supply Company. So Gresco is based out of Forsyth, Georgia. We have several offices all in the southeast. We sell anything from a water bottle, tissue paper, up to a gigantic transformer and everything in between. So my department is renewables. We are specialized in EV chargers, generators, and solar panels. But a bulk of our business is EV chargers. We are one of 7 charge point distributors in the country. So we partner directly with ChargePoint. I've been to their facilities in California. We've met with their CEO. If you buy chargers from us, you get them cheaper than you get them anywhere else. We have a leg up, I guess, if you come directly to us instead of going to. I'm going to just tell you what they get them. They're all very similar, but obviously buying from a distribution partner tends to work in everyone's favor. So with that being said, our sales this year have slowed down a little bit. But I'll tell you last year that we had sold over $4 million worth of chargers. There is some grant money out there that exists. It's a little bit harder to get your hands on it now. But with the chargers, and that being said, we see a lot of cities building a lot of facilities just to support charging. We do see a pretty big push in level 3. But I don't necessarily recommend jumping into level 3. You have to start with level 2 chargers. Just to kind of break it down for you, there's really only 2 that you ever be interested in. It's either going to be a level 2, that's a residential charger, so it's something you plug in at your house. That's not really of interest. And then you have the level 2 commercial, which is what I sent over the grocery store spec sheet on. The one that is the most common model or most recent model is going to be the CP6000 from ChargePoint. That's a 19.5 kW charger. What that charger is designed to do is charge somebody's car in, roughly 3 to 4 hours. Now, everyone's saying, well, 3 to 4 hours, that's a long time. So level 2 charger is not designed like a gas station or a gas pump is. When you buy level 2 chargers, you're putting in a charger somewhere that you want people to spend time. You put them in to generate revenue at the unit and to invest in the community. So you put them in the middle of town square where somebody can go shop for an hour. You put them at a shopping mall, in a doctor's office, at a hospital. I always like to tell the story, the first place to ever actually give free charging away were casinos. The casinos had figured out early on that it was good clientele coming in, and they were going to spend money if they were spending more money on a car. It's also a giant value add for the community. There's not a lot of chargers, especially the more south you get. And also in the corridor, you're driving down 75 and you need somewhere to top off, and that's how a level 2 should be treated. It's great to stop and have a burger or a meal and be able to charge your car for an hour and get 25 or 30 additional percent. That way it doesn't really disrupt the flow of common travel the way that people imagine it needs to. The other type of charger that exists is level 3. Everyone wants level 3 until they hear the price tag. The caveat to that as well is level 3 chargers are not necessarily the easiest to get. There's the giant cost associated with them. They're going to have somebody on the unit at all times, which is great. But again, you're going to have somebody parked there for 15 to 20 minutes. So that's the whole replacing the gas station mentality. And the chargers will only ever charge the car to 80%. So level 3 will never ever charge the car past 80%. It would be bad for the battery in the car. With the level 2 chargers, again, it's designed for that top off mentality of, hey, I have 60%, but I can pick up an additional 30 here to get back up to 90. There are not a lot of downsides to the chargers. They're eco-friendly. That doesn't sell as well in the southeast as it sells in California, and that's just the truth. But other than that, they're a giant value add in the community, and the only thing they're really ever going to give up is a couple parking spots. They pay for themselves. You have the benefit and luxury when you buy ChargePoint of logging into the portal. It will give
have both units charge the same price, you can. If you want them to be separate, you can. They have loitering fees, so that way people can't park their vehicles there for, 4 or 6 hours at a time and refuse to move. Maybe after hour 3 or after 4, you charge $5 or $10 an hour so the person feels the pressure to move the vehicle. And that's all at the owner's discretion. The other thing with us is, working with Resco, obviously we're based in Versailles. We have an office in Valdosta now. That's where all of our electricians are based out of. And we're a one-stop shop for buying chargers. You call us, we'll come out to the site, we'll figure everything out that you need, tell you exactly what it's going to cost, and you essentially have one person to yell at if something goes wrong. But I don't see that happening. The other nice thing with ChargePoint chargers are when we sell them, they tell us something that we call 5 and 5. It's 5 years of warranty, 5 years of software. What that warranty covers is absolutely everything. Somebody has an accident and runs the charger over wherever it is, that's covered under warranty. Your screen malfunctions at year 5, it's covered under warranty. If you want to extend your warranty at the end of year 5, ChargePoint will call you about 6 months before that happens, and they'll say, hey, you could buy a 2-year extended warranty, or you could extend the software 2 years. But by the time year 5 rolls around, you should have either broken unit or made money on the unit. So again, there's not a ton of downside. It's really something that's a benefit to the community, benefits to businesses, and it really shouldn't cost a lot in the grand scheme of things.
All right, I appreciate that. And for the council, you can see up here on the board here, we have one charger here. This doesn't belong to the city of Camilla. But if you see that corridor, you see all those up here in Albany. Well, when you head down 19, there's nothing there. And what you have to do is end up going to Thomasville if you want to do that. We are missing all of that traffic that is heading down the Tallahassee's and points south. And when you look at the price point that we have in this quote, and that's why I want to thank Gunner for getting this quote, but I really wanted you guys to see this. I think I told you $50,000 last week, but what I'm looking at here is about $33,000 for 2 of these chargers. And as you can see from this map, this is from the Georgia Economic Development website, by the way. There's nothing between Albany and us, and the one that's there isn't even associated with the city of Camilla. So, council, the funding for this $33,000 right now, we have somewhere approaching combined in our economic development fund, approaching about $1 million. But we have about $500,000 here local from there. So we have the funds to do it. I can recommend ARPA, but I think we're trying to do some other special stuff with that. So at the end of the day, the point that I'm making is we have the funding, more than enough to bring these 2 chargers here. But I would yield at this time to see if there's any comments or questions from the council.
How much does a level 3 charger cost?
Hey, Gunner, Councilman Collins wanted to know what is the cost of a level 3? And before you answer that, it's the infrastructure that goes with the level 3 is what is the pain. But go ahead, Gunner, talk to us about level 3 charger.
Yeah, so a level 3 ChargePoint charger, the newest one, they do have an older model that we sell a little bit cheaper. It's a CPE 250. And being a distribution partner, I have both of these sitting on shelves, so it's not like they're extinct or bad, but a CPE 250 is going to run you about $50,000 for 1 unit. The CPE 280 is going to run every bit of $75,000 to $85,000. And then again, the struggle with that is the infrastructure to support it, where the level 2 units are single phase or 3-phase 208 40. The level 3 chargers are 3-phase 480. So now you have to have a transformer to support it. And to find a transformer is not necessarily the easiest thing to do. I know with all the transformers we have, our lead times are like 65 weeks for one. So it's not just the charger. There is the infrastructure to go along. Now, if you have the transformer to go along with it, it's a different conversation.
Is that charging 2 at a time or 1 at a time?
That's a good question.
Who's car?
Yeah, so one charger, Gunner, does that, it looks like there's two, pumps, if you will. Does that mean you can do, so two chargers, you can do 4 vehicles, or one charger, you can do 2 vehicles?
Yeah, so that's a great thing. I've been thinking about covering that for the last 5 minutes, to make sure that it's clear. So the CG6000, what we quoted you as 6021. There's about 14 different modes that exist. 6021 is the most common commercial seller that we have. So that unit is 19.5 kilowatts, and it has 2 ports on it. So if you plug one vehicle into it, it'll get full 19.5 kW at 80 amps. If you plug 2 vehicles into it, it'll split the 19.5 kW. Now, with the level 3 charger, you have 2 ports, but it will only charge 1 car at a time. The caveat to that is the car's only going to be parked there for 15 to 30 minutes max before it charges the car next to it. So it actually the level 3 units have 2 ports as well. They will only charge 1 car at a time. So the level 2s, if you buy 2 chargers, you're really getting the ability to charge 4 cars at one time.
Great question. Any other questions? And I just want to remind everybody, we're having this conversation because of our recent trip to Amelia Island with MEAG. This is one of the classes, if you will, that ECG gave during that particular conference. And again, this is the whole point of the citizens of the city sending us to this stuff, is that we're bringing something back. And ECG as a partner, I was introduced to Gunner through ECG. So, you know, again, this is something that I'm bringing to the table, but this is something that is happening all over the state. And Gunner, you said something interesting when we spoke earlier as it relates to the curve, about being ahead, in front, or with it. Could you speak on that again?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been selling EV chargers now for the last 3 years. And the pitch before, and not that I'm pitching anything, I will say I'm a non-commission-based sales guy. It doesn't make a difference to me if I say something that costs $3,000, $30,000, or $300,000. My paycheck looks the same. But with the curve, 3 years ago there was a lot of issues. So those people who were ahead of the curve really ran into a lot of problems. I would say now the industry's worked out some kinks. There's a lot less hardware issues. There's a lot less software issues. And things are pretty much figured out. There are systems, we have customers who buy 10, 20, 30 chargers at a time, all charge point, all in the same system, very easy to use. The support is fine. And when I say I can teach you in 5 minutes how to make the software function, I mean I can probably teach you in less than 5 minutes. It's as simple as going into your Outlook or your Gmail and sending an email. It's just clicking buttons, but you're either going to be with the curve or behind the curve. And at this point, you kind of be right with the curve. So we're seeing most of the cities in Georgia adding some form of infrastructure, some amounts of chargers. Whether it's a small amount or large amount, we've seen both sides of it. And one isn't better than the other, but if you are installing chargers now, you'll have the data points. You'll be able to see what's being used and maybe make an educated decision in 6 months or in a year where it's say, hey, I can see where we could benefit from having some more chargers in these locations. But if you wait another year or have this conversation even another 6 months, there will be more chargers around you that you have less control over. You won't be able to see the data. You won't know to charge them. And people will know who put the units in. And having your name brand unit like ChargePoint goes a long way. It's the most common charger in the country. There's over 100,000 ports in the United States. Everybody will see it on their map. Everybody who's driving a car has the ability to charge there. They're completely universal. It's the reason we don't sell Tesla, because I don't want to sell people chargers that are specific to one brand, even if it's the most common one. But you're really going to be either with the curve at this point or behind the curve. There's no more point in being ahead of it.
Indeed. I appreciate that, Gunner, and I suspect that's one of the reasons why MEAG, who we buy our electricity from, made it a point to let us know that, during this last visit. Okay, so, I will yield there. Council, any other questions or statements for Gunner? Yes, sir.
What's the cost to the consumer that's gonna be using this electricity?
And before you answer that, the question, Gunner, was what's the cost to the consumer that uses it? And before you answer that question, let me just say this. We as the governing authority set that. So if we decide that we're going to use it strictly as an economic development tool, that somebody's going through 19 and it pops up on their map, they want to stop, get a burger, some wings, or whatever the case may be, we just let them use it. Or with this particular model, we have the ability to charge. So that's something that we control. But Gunner, correct me where I'm wrong. Gunner, you still there?
Yeah, I hit the mute button like I love technology. So you're 100% right, and the pricing is going to be broken down per kilowatt hour always, unless you decide to get the power away for free. So all it is from a cost perspective to the customer, anyone who has the charge point app can see on their phone where the units are. They'll come up to the unit, they'll stick their Apple Pay up to the monitor. The monitor will identify what their card is. They have the card on file. They plug the charger. The charger then unlocks. That's what it takes to unlock. That means they know exactly who pulled it off the unit. So it reduces the risk of vandalism. They plug it into the car, however long it charges for, and whatever you are charging for. And again, ChargePoint does recommend what you should charge, but again, as Mary said, it's your discretion. Maybe you have Friday nights are free, you try to promote something or do something. It's completely up to you. But that's all. Payment stuff is also taken care of through the app.
Yes, sir.
So do they necessarily have to have an app to be able to use these chargers?
Did you get that, Gunner? Our Mayor Pro Tem, Burley wanted to know, does the consumer need an app in order to use the charger that was here in Camilla?
Absolutely. They make a model where you don't have to, but it's incredibly risky to the station owner to have it so that anybody could open the app or anybody could open the port rather and just unplug the unit from the wall or from its port. So that's why the app is a necessity.
Gotcha. And if I'm understanding the technology, the app is just pretty much part and parcel of the vehicle itself. That you when you buy an electric vehicle, you're understanding that there's, in order to get fuel, if you will, there's this extra step that you have to take in terms of doing that.
Correct. And almost all of the vehicles have some form of ability to see all of the chargers on their map. And then, if you buy an EV, you're fully expecting to use the technology in the vehicle as well as being a little bit more technologically friendly in this piece. They're being open-minded to having an app on the phone that you're going to need to use. My mom drives a Tesla, my wife drives a Tesla. Both of them have to have a variety of things on their phones to make sure that, if they need charging, they can get it anywhere. And that's kind of one of the downsides, but everyone who drives an EV understands that.
Indeed.
Chris,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
but this is for the gentleman on the phone. Where are these typically located? The charging stations?
Did you get that, Gunner?
I did not.
Councilman Palmer wants to know, where are the chargers typically located? And just let I understand, you're talking in the state or in the city?
In the city.
In the city. Well, where are the folks, where do you typically see them get put in the city, the folks buy them?
Either in a town square or by a park would probably be my two most common. And again, that really depends on who's buying the station. We see a lot of business owners buying, they obviously go alternative business, but if the cities are buying, it's always almost in some form of town square, near one of their facilities, or near a park or somewhere somebody likes to sit for a little bit.
Where is the proposed site for these two?
I would recommend, near, somewhere between Scott and Broad, downtown, as he just mentioned, as Gunnar just mentioned, somewhere in the square.
But they can't be on the city street, I mean, in a public parking, it has to be, in a park or something like that, or a parking lot, or is that?
No, but yeah, that's a great question, Councilman. Gunnar, I kind of explained where these go. They, you know, they're on the sidewalk, they're on the street, in a parking lane. How are they typically put in, or where?
Yeah, they can go anywhere. So they're either baller mount or they're wall mounted. So if you want one in a parking garage, you can do that. If you want to put one on the street, you can do that. In a lot of cities, we see them somewhere in town, usually on a street, where that spot is then a designated EV parking spot, which is why I say, you know, really the only downside is losing one or two more parking spots where it could be, or in your case, potentially four, but, you know, at the same time, it's a giant value add.
Indeed. Yeah, I think, Councilman, for me, it would be somewhere between Scott and Broad, in that intersection somewhere. That's pretty much where we have our most traffic. Downtown traffic. Good question. All right, any other comments?
If we decide to, look into these, which one would we prefer, the wall mount or pedestal?
Yeah, industry, yes, sir.
So the pedestal
Yes,
is the one that we're looking at.
Yes, sir. I think it's a great for folks that are past 37, Oakland, 19, folks that are passing through. It's just another indication that the city of Camilla is leaping into the future, if you will. And I'll use Gunnar's term, it's just a great value add. Even if you're in a gasoline powered vehicle, it communicates a certain idea of who we are as a city, in my mind. All right, any other comments? Questions? Councilman Morgan?
All clear?
All right, well, with that, Councilman, what I would ask is that is there a motion? And Gunnar, we got 32,900 here, but I think what I'm gonna ask the council to do is authorize up to 40,000. Does that seem about right?
Yeah, the price for the units will not exceed 32.9 in any way, shape, or form. The only other variable is really gonna be getting power there. And that all depends on the facility, but I can't imagine in any way, shape, or form, you know, it costing more than $10,000 or $15,000 to build infrastructure to support the units.
Okay. All right. So, council, at this time, is there a motion to approve the purchase of 2 level 2 chargers as submitted by Gresco, Charge Point EV stations to be located somewhere in downtown Camilla, decided by this council, up to $40,000. This money is to be taken from the Economic Development Fund. So that's where we are. So council, at this time, is there a motion to approve the purchase of 2 level 2 chargers from Gresco with a price up to $40,000 to be located somewhere in downtown Camilla? Is there a motion?
So move.
Second.
A motion has been properly second. Any discussion? All right. Madam Clerk, just do a roll call vote.
Councilman Burley,
Yes.
Councilman Morgan,
Yes.
Councilman Collins,
Yes.
Councilman Palmer,
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you, council. So, Gunner, somewhere here in the next 2 or 3 days, we'll be back in touch with our friend for us to get started on this exciting project.
You let me know if you have any questions. If anyone has any questions, I'm pretty easy to get a hold of. I'm happy to support.
Absolutely. Appreciate you, sir. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, sir. All right. All right. Thank you, council. All right. At this time, turn it over to your city manager, item D.
Item D, Mr. Mayor, the council recommends approval to execute an agreement with Best Friends Humane Society in Worth County to provide from October 1, 2024 through September 30, 2025, animal housing services for the annual amount of $20,400 payable in monthly payments, $1,700.
All right. Thank you, city manager.
Yes, sir.
All right, council, at this time, is there a motion to approve the Best Friends Agreement and authorize the mayor to sign related to animal housing here for the city of Camilla? Is there a motion?
So move.
Second.
I have a motion that has been properly second. Any discussion?
What's the, monthly average on the occurrences?
a dozen or less. And we have an issue with the cats right now. There's lots and lots and lots of cats, but, I mean, I would say between 10 and 15 a month. I mean, it's not astronomical. The biggest, like I said, the biggest issue we have right now is there's a lot of cats having kittens, and the kittens are growing up and having kittens, so there's a lot of cats, but just about the majority of the dogs, particularly the ones that are just running loose out there, we got those all distributed. I mean, from time to time, we will have, you know, a bite case, not often. But I think, you know, we've been giving out, or we haven't, police department has been giving out citations for violations of leash law. We've been imposing that pretty frequently, so I don't know if that's catching everybody's attention, and, you know, that fine is $160 per occurrence, so.
How many trips a week do we go to Poland?
On average, if I had to do it by the month, I would say probably 2, maybe 3, if we're catching a lot of cats out of them.
So that $75 is per animal, the $75 bill per animal, when it says per occurrence.
No, sir. Well, that's for, there's a caveat there. I think that's an hours.
I don't think we've had to do any out.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that we would never have to, but the majority of ours is taken care of their regular business.
No, that 1,700 a month includes everything. There is a, 75.
Not 4.
You know,
That's
probably,
after hours.
the only
Yeah, that's
time, probably the only time we would have that occurrence is if we had a bite case and we have to care of it. We take possession of the animal right then and there, so we don't have a choice. I mean, we can't have them, we're not, we don't have, not authorized, so.
How many after hours?
So far, we haven't had any. We did have one bite case after hours, and the correctional institute wound up with that animal. We picked it up the next day and transported it. The majority of them are called in during the day. There again, I mean, there's no way for us to know. I mean, a bite case can happen at any time, so.
So the 6 or 7 months or so that we had this service, To Sheriff's point, I don't think we've had a half hour meeting, so we haven't been charged that amount.
And, you know, we do have, a place to store the animals in the event they're not able to be transported immediately. I mean, we can hold them a couple, 3, 4 hours without any stress on them, so.
As Sheriff mentioned, I would say over the last 6, 8 weeks or so, the number of stray dogs have pretty much disappeared. Luke has been tremendous on the road. And the calls we get now are cats. As a matter of fact, we probably get more calls now from folks outside of the building, hearing what we're doing here. And they want us to go as far as Pelham, Bakerton, in the county, if you will. But we pretty much, you know, that's not to say that you won't see a stray dog here and there, but for the most part, the problem that we did have, we pretty much got a hold of that now. And I think what we're doing also, the city attorney was mentioning about due process. You know, our charter talks about an animal control officer here in the city of Camilla. We didn't have one directly associated with the city of Camilla control officer. We do now. So if we take somebody down, that owner has due process rights, and having our own animal control here in the city puts us more in line with our charter and the due process rights of pet owners going forward. So that's another element that we got, another value added, if you will, when we went this route. All right. Any other questions or comments? All right, so we have a motion. Sir, properly second. And again, council, this is the best friends agreement to do our animal housing for us. And as submitted, with the price point there in the agreement, are there any other questions or comments? Madam Clerk, for roll call.
Councilman Burley,
Yes.
Councilman Morgan,
Yes.
Councilman Collins,
Yes.
Councilman Palmer,
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Thank you, council. All right, let's see that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item F is the position classification and pay plan.
All right. All right, so council, as you know, at our last work session, we went into executive session to discuss personnel issue. We came out of executive session to ratify, if you will, elements of the CNS SGGSA agreement with the member cities. Myself and Councilman Palmer, who is the chairman of the SGGSA board, we just had a meeting last week in Moultrie, discussing the progress and process of this transition. So basically, all of the customer service work, if you will, related to CNS Next is now housed in Thomasville. And because of that, all 4 member cities agreed to do that, and the SGSA board agreed to do that. And obviously, as a consequence of that, there are some positions here in the city, in all cities, member cities, quite frankly, involved, that were now being taken on in Thomasville. And we acted on one of those positions last week, and tonight we're working on potentially the second position that has been identified that is more or less now inside of Thomasville. But before I ask for a motion, just let me turn to Councilman Palmer and see if he had any comments related to this.
No, other than the fact what I said another week, that this was, part of a business plan by SGGSA to do some consolidating and, reorganization of the, company, and this was just part of the process that to house everything at the same place for a lot of reasons, and that, anyway, this is the net results of that.
Indeed. All right, any other comments, from the council? And just as a reminder, it was months ago, that we started this conversation, and there was obviously email traffic between myself and the city manager as it relates to ensure that the staff, without knowing exactly who or what would be impacted, to really start to give everyone a heads up that this was coming down the pipe. But this is something that's been communicated for months related to this transition. And as Councilman Palmer pointed out, we're just now at the point to where some of these actions have to take place. So what has been identified, Council, the one position that we didn't have last week was the Senior Customer Service Representative. And that is a position that is related to some of the collections, if you will. And the city manager, just want to make sure that we're clear on that, sir.
That is correct, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so with that, Council, is there a motion to remove the Senior Customer Service Representative position from the City of Camilla position classification plan effective October 1, 2024? Is there a motion?
I got a question on that before we make a motion. I know we did this last week. It was just only one, because I thought it was for the entire, that department.
No. So there were two positions.
I know two
identified.
positions that was out there. So when we did the motion and voted on this last week, I thought it took care of both positions.
No, just one. And the reason why it got pushed to today is because, again, even though we had an individual working with certain collection activities, if you will, that's not the way it's classified in the position classification plan. So we had to make sure that whatever that position was correctly identified. And that's what's highlighted there on your position classification plan.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir, please.
Also with that position, I know that action that we're taking tonight, but if you think about it 5 years from now, you could bring it back, or you could just not fund it and leave it in there, and then there might be a spot for upper mobility waiver. If that's possible.
Well, I think that sends a degree of mixed messaging, if you will, and I would recommend that for the council. If there's an opportunity, and Councilman Palmer, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think SSGSA does not plan on sending collections back to the member cities anytime soon.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. All right, so any other questions regarding that?
Yes, what, percentage of SGDSA CNS collections did these two individuals do?
The one that you spoke about last week governed it all. Most everything ran through her one way or another. And this person that we're talking about tonight, as the mayor just talked about, pretty much talks about collections when bills are past due. So hers was well, they both were every day, but this one was probably 50 to 60%, where the other one we talked about last week was probably 70 plus.
But that included all utilities for the city, right? Not just it.
Oh, right, correct.
And this would leave, I believe, two folks back there.
Yes, sir. Not counting the cashiers.
Not counting cashiers.
My question, Mr. Manager, is, with those two that is back there, will they take on the duties of collecting for utilities or anything?
You started to say something.
The main core here is the SCGSA piece, the CNS NAS piece. The collection for everything else is already built in. So there isn't anything extra, if you will. The reason why we are making this motion or potential motion is because there's going to be less having it back there, not more. And you just want to say something.
Well, if I understood the Mayor Pro Tem question, are you asking me, are the two that's left going to absorb some of the responsibility of the two that's departing?
I know, well, I would say one of them. One of them took care of the, utilities, right? I had a part of utilities, because
Yeah, that's
you
going on.
just stated, the CNS stuff is gone. But do they do collection on city utilities?
Yes, sir.
I think with Councilman Palmer, he stated something of that nature, about what duties do they have with CNS and with the city?
So when we first heard about this, we started making sure that both teams, CS and the customer service team in the back, begin to interface to make sure we don't drop any balls. So the collection side of the house, no. But the other side of the house, with the position you talked about last week, we had the cashier manager begin to learn those duties. So that if there's anything that comes up, we're at least hoping that we're familiar with it.
Yeah, so the primary deal in terms of the collections, what was the, and I think you just mentioned this, but just want to restate this. The primary collections of the collection person, the position we're talking about tonight, how much of that job was CNS and all of the components of CNS?
Probably 40. Yeah, maybe that. I mean, and let's face it, the collection agency does the bulk of it.
They do. I mean, I think after 100 or maybe even 90 days, if we're not successful collecting outstanding debt, we send it to the treasurer.
Correct.
And that's in our budget. So, I mean, we budget for that. The CNS piece was a robust piece of what happens in the background. And yeah, and you know, again, want to remind the decision, the city, all member cities had an opportunity to not participate in this. All right, that the SCGSA board decided that this was best for the later progression of CNS, which we own 11% of. Then all 4 member cities made the decision to join SCGSA in this particular endeavor. And I think, as I mentioned at the beginning, at the top of this, I made it a point, painfully, if you will, stressing the impact of what that decision would be. So. Any other questions?
Just one other comment,
Yes, sir.
I still say that we probably just looking at this, and I didn't get an exact answer as to what, percent of CNS is involved in this, but like to me, one person would have been ample enough to eliminate, not two.
Well, again, the council, at the end of the day, has the ability, to, direct, if you will. So, it's, that is completely up to the majority of this council. All right, so, any other comments or questions? All right, so council, at this time, is there a motion to remove the senior customer service representative from the City of Camilla position and classification plan? Is there a motion? All right, hearing none, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir. Hearing none for item E. The next item is item F, Mr. Mayor. It's updates to the capital improvement program, airport.
Nick, you're up.
Mayor, council, good evening again. You and I will get on board with the speaker.
That's right.
That is, we'll work on that.
Yes,
Give me a
sir.
moment, let me get our airport consultant on the phone. And while I do, he is at home watching on the live link, so any questions, there may be a slight delay, okay? Hey, Michael, you with me? I'm gonna put you on speaker, sir. All right, Michael, the floor is yours.
You can push it down.
Yes, ma'am, yeah.
Well, so just to backtrack to last week's city council meeting, that's when the mayor and council approved moving forward with the fiscal year 2025 project, which is the security fencing project, both the design and construction of that. So our next step is to discuss the CIP, specifically the next year of the CIP. So what project's going to come up after the fencing project? That is something that we're going to be submitting funding applications for by November 5th of this year. And again, it's for state fiscal year 26, so that will start July of calendar year 2025. What we are proposing to move forward with, and I'll say that this plan has GDOT support, is an update of the airport layout plan. The airport layout plan, or ALP, is a planning document that takes a look at what we, meaning Castro, and more importantly, the city, see as the future of the airport. It's a 20-year picture showing the proposed development of the airport. I think with some of the projects that we're talking about undertaking in the next several years, such as potential terminal building improvements, potential hangar development, the eVTOL facilities, and incorporating that into the airfield, I think it's a really good idea to take a deep dive on the planning side of things. That's a collaborative effort between the city, Passero, and GDOT to really formulate that plan. During the same fiscal year, we propose moving forward with the design of rehabilitating and replacing the airfield lighting, signage, and electrical system. what we've got out there at the airport now is nearing the end of its useful life. I know it's costing the city more each year to continue to maintain that system. And that's an important safety-related project that I think makes a lot of sense to move forward with. That's it for fiscal year 26. That's what we propose applying for funding for. Happy to answer any questions that you may have about that, or we can talk a little bit about subsequent fiscal years.
Now, just want to make sure, Mike, that we're clear on what you want us to vote on tonight. So I think what we'll do is just take one bite of the apple at a time. And so just let us know what you want us to do tonight. What's pressing today?
Did you get that, Michael?
Yeah, I think I got most of it. Asking really what we're asking to take action on tonight.
Yes.
And I think the motion would need to be something along the lines of voting to move forward with the currently proposed slate of projects for fiscal year 2026, or at least applying for funding to those. I should say that just applying for the funding doesn't, commit the city to anything. GDOT understands that, conditions change, and if something should happen where either airport and city priorities change or funding just becomes unavailable locally, you're not committed to anything just simply by applying for the funding. But the three projects that we would propose for fiscal year 26 are updating the airport layout plan, designing the replacement of the airfield lighting and signage systems, and then the third is a project that is included at the suggestion of GDOT, and that would be reimbursement for any overages that might come about in the security fencing project. So, for example, we bid out the project and something happens, some unforeseen circumstances happen during construction, and we need to exceed the budget. We'll have a line item in the next fiscal year where we could get reimbursed for that. It's really a contingency item more than anything. And like we talked about last week, I don't foresee ever needing that because the fencing project, we can make whatever we want to, given a budget. If we don't end up completing the entire project, we can phase it over a couple of years. But I don't think it's a bad idea to go ahead and put a project in there as a contingency. All told, your local share for those three projects, we're estimating at $18,500. Any questions on that?
No, so, well, for me, Michael, so if I'm hearing you correctly, what you want the council to vote on tonight is authorizing Pastor Road to apply for grant funding for the slate of projects in the CIP for fiscal year 2026.
That's correct. Yes.
Yep, that is correct.
Okay, good deal. All right. Any questions, council? For Nick or Mike? Okay. All right, council, at this time, Councilman Morgan? All right, so, council, at this time, is there a motion to authorize Pastor Rowe, to, apply, for grant funding for slated projects, that are within the CIP, for the airport for fiscal year 2026? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been properly seconded. Any discussion? I just want to make sure I heard Mike Eaton, is that in 2026?
Fiscal year 2026.
All right, for just so that everybody understands, Eaton, that's your vertical lift-off vehicles, unmanned flight, drones, these types of things, and trying to put that type of infrastructure in the city of Pinellas Airport. It will be a win-win for everybody. And Nick, did I miss that? Did I get that right?
eVTOL is actually scheduled for 2029, but the beauty of CIP is we can address this later and make changes as needed.
Indeed. Mike, what infrastructure are you referring to as it relates to fiscal year 2026 as it relates to eVTOL?
Michael, did you get that from the mayor?
Yeah, I did. So as part of the airport layout plan update, that's something where we'll absolutely plan out for the installation of eVTOL facilities at the airport. As part of the ALP update process, again, we take a 20-year look at the development of the airport, and we will take an even deeper dive into the CIP and look at what do we want to develop over the next 5 years, and then for years 6 to 10, and for years 11 to 20. And so during that process, and then there'll be multiple meetings. Again, it's a collaborative effort between the city and Pastor Rowe and GDOT. We'll identify what are the airport's priorities really for development. We know we want to take care of the safety-related projects first, like the lighting and signage. But then after that, what's next? And it could very well be eVTOL facilities that come up next. And if that's the case, then we can always reshuffle the CIP and bump that out to show it as a higher priority.
Okay. And again, everybody, if you're missing that, this is electric vehicles. It's electric airplanes. Vertical, takeoff and landing. Straight up, take off, come back, come straight down. Kind of like a helicopter, kind of sort of, but electricity is doing that. We're going to lead the region. We're going to lead the region in this technology. All right. Any other comments, council? All right, we have a motion to properly second. Any other comments? All right, all in favor? Council Morgan?
Yes.
All right, motion carries. All right, thank you, council. Thank you, Nick. Appreciate it, Mike.
Council, thank you. Michael, couldn't say it better myself, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Good job, Nick.
All right. Let's see, man.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, for this week, I just want to highlight that the restrooms at Toombs, we finally got the computer system working. Those hours coincide with the same hours that we have the splash pad from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. We had a check on it a couple of days throughout the day. It was working just fine. Go a little early in the morning, it's still locked, but by 10:05, the doors came open. So the system is working. Councilmember, on Highway 19, I hope you noticed that the trees have been trimmed out there that you asked me about. Councilman Morgan, on North Church and Scott, I did meet with the contractor out there to look at those trees. And obviously, I think I sent you the invoice, and we should talk about that going forward. I will address that main one over the house, but the entire project, I just want to make sure that's what you want me to do.
Yes, sir.
Also, the stormwater project, I'm sorry, you said something to me, sir?
Yes, sir. Was that also the resident at 79 Scotch Basin?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Also, the stormwater project that you mentioned to me, we went back and we found those old documents where we started this in 2019. So I had gotten all those together. I went back to the contractor that did all that work for us. And so we've added the flooding prone areas that we just experienced a few months ago to make sure that our plan will cover that. And as I get some better numbers, I'll come back to you and tell you how much I think that's gonna cost us.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir, but the idea is we started it a few years ago. I just didn't wanna do the same work that we've already paid for and to do that twice. Also, Mayor and Council, you will see that the bids for our cemetery roads will be out next week. I also spoke to our contractor about option B, for our new, gymnasium. There's one thing I want to get you guys permission on. Right now, we have 3 showers in both locker rooms. The contractor tells me it costs us about $60K per shower. And what he's asking, or she's asking me thus for, is can we get away with 2? Which would save us a little bit as we try to build this. So if you go back to option B and look at that and see if we can go with either 2 showers as opposed to the 3rd one. The Old Boys and Girls Club roof, met with that contractor a couple days ago, or Friday, as a matter of fact. And so I expect him to have him on that roof in about a couple of weeks. And then, of course, LRL, our landscaping contractor for Highway 19, I've asked her to give me a quote for cemetery only, but she keep mixing it and trying to add 37 and Oakview. And so once I get it clean, then I come back to Mayor and Council to give you those numbers. Subject to your questions.
All right. No questions for City Manager? All right, Council, just want to remind the public, and you'll be seeing some of this on social media this week related to Dinner and Blanc. We'll be back, Dinner and Blanc, year 3, downtown Camilla. Really looking forward to that. I think we're doing that on October 5th. But you'll see more information on that coming forward. And just let me just verify that. Yeah, so Saturday, October 5th, downtown Camilla. Also want to remind everybody again that the City of Camilla learned over the last couple of weeks that we are the recipient of $1 million in CDBG funding for that grant for sewer improvements near Beacon Street. That is awesome for that community and obviously for our city as it relates to economic development. And there's more information to come. We're waiting right now on the results of a few things, and we're just waiting for that. So I suspect that by October's work session, we should have some information. And sure, we're getting wrong. Majority of that stuff is coming back in September, right? Yeah. So we'll be finding out some good stuff here going forward. We're expecting more conversations related to the potential hotel coming to downtown Camilla. You're going to start hearing that conversation ramping up pretty quickly over the next couple of weeks, especially within the URA and then obviously here also. So good things are happening in Camilla. We'll tell everybody to keep your spirits up, keep your head up. It's a good time to be in this city and in this region. So stay positive, everybody. All right, with that, council, it appears that we have, yes, sir.
One last thing, Mr. Mayor, and my apologies.
No, you're good.
Staff has come to me and they want to remind me about Employee Appreciation Day. And so they're really asking that, Mayor, please check your calendar, council, check your calendars. And, we're gonna come up with 2 or 3 dates, and we just want to make sure that you got, it fits with your calendars.
Can I ask, city manager a question?
Sure.
For the record, how many, meetings has, Mr. Morgan been on the phone?
I do not know that off the top of my head, sir.
2, June and today.
And the law allows for how many?
2. Yeah. Just give me 1 second. And everybody, that question from Councilor Palmer is a great question. And just so everybody understands, here in the state of Georgia, a council member can miss 2 council meetings if they're out of the jurisdiction. So you can't be at home and miss a council meeting, you gotta be gone. Councilman Morgan is currently in Atlanta. However, if you're ill, if you're sick and you have a doctor's excuse, you can miss the meeting, more than that, if you will. But if nothing's wrong with you, the law allows you 2 times. As long as you're out of the city, you can call in. But, to Councilman Palmer's point, I just want to make sure that, I'm giving the right information. But it's my recollection, that it was, June was his first one. Yeah, so June 10th, Councilman Morgan via phone. That was the first time he did that this year, and tonight was the second time. Appreciate the question. All right. Any other questions or comments, Council? All right, Council, it appears that we have reached the end of our agenda for tonight. Is there a motion to adjourn? Adjourn. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody. You good, Council Morgan? All right, Madam Attorney? All right.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's what I
Oh, wow.
That's really silly.
I told her last time I saw her. Oh, I didn't recognize her. We go way back.
Gunner Goldberg is.
If you want to, no, we're gonna have 2. That's $8.
Yes, sir.